Good morning. As we go to the Chitas of today, Yud Aleph Nisan, the 11th day of the month of Nisan. We are holding in the book of Leviticus, the book of Vayikra, chapter 9, verse number 1. This is Parsha Shmini. It was the 8th day for the dedication of the temple when Aaron and his sons became the official Kehanim in the Beis Hamikdash. We're going to do Parsha Shmini actually this year twice, as we're not going to read the portion in the synagogue this Shabbos. We're going to read it next Shabbos. So we're going to read Parsha Shmini this week. We're going to learn Parsha Shmini as Chitas this week, and Parsha Shmini again next week. It was in the 8th day. Moshe called out Levanov and to his children, Lezikni Yisrael, to the elders of the Jewish people. Rashi says this was the 8th day. The 8th day to the Meluyim, with the Kehanim were invested in the Beis Hamikdash. It was the first of the month of Nisan. The very day which the Mishkan was erected, that was the day when the Mishkan was dedicated, the first of Nisan. And this day, they took 10 crowns of distinctions, which are enumerated in Teres Kehanim. Razikni Yisrael, to the elders of the Jewish people, Rashi says, Lashmiam, to inform them that it was by the express command of God. The Aaron became the Kohen Gadol because God wanted, and Aaron entered the Kehuna Gedela, so that they should not say that he entered on his own accord, which we know didn't work out anyway. Tairach came to challenge that. Vayemer Adonai told that Kachas Egel, take the bull calf ben bakar, the chatas for a chatas, and then take a ram for a burnt offering. They should be unblemished. Hashem, and bring it before God. Rashi says this is to inform Aaron that the Holy One, blessed be He took an egel. The egel, because they like the golden calf. This came to show Aaron that he was forgiven on the golden calf through his atonement through his calf for the incident of the golden calf. Speak to them. Speak to them. Take a he-goat for a sin offering. Ben Shana, and a calf and a lamb, both in the first year. Timimim, they should be unblemished. Le'oila for a burnt offering. Verse number 4, and take an ox and a ram for a peace offering. To bring as an offering for God. And you should bring a mincha that is mixed with oil. Because today, Hashem nir alechem, because today God is revealing Himself to you. Now she says, what does that mean? To make His Shechina rest in the work of your hands. The Eibishter, you're going to become the Kehanim and the Kohen Gadol. And today, the Eibishter God is going to show how He works, how He dwells in the work of your hands. It means in the work of the Mishkan. And for this reason, these sacrifices are obligation on this day. Verse number 5, and they did what God commanded. To the face of the tent. The entire community came. They stood before God. This is the thing. Which God commanded, Tasu, and you shall do. And the glory of God will appear to you. Verse number 7, Moshe said to Aaron, come close to the altar, approach the altar. And do your sin offering. Your burnt offering. Bring forgiveness to you. For the entire nation. Then do the sacrifice of the people. Bring forgiveness to them. Hashem, as God has commanded. She said, Moshe Rabbeinu was pushing Aaron, prodding him, because Aaron was bashful to approach the altar. The Moshe Rabbeinu said to him, why are you ashamed? But this is the function you were chosen. This is your job. Don't become humble suddenly. This is your obligation. As chatras elabek baka bulkaf, as a lascha, as a ayel the ram. Korban what was the people's offering? Was the goats, the he-goats. the calf and the lamb. Whenever the unqualified term egel, calf, is stated in the Torah, it denotes one of the first year. This rule derived from the passage. Firm par denotes one in the third year. Egel is a calf in the second year. I'm sorry, Egel ben Bakr is in the second year, and Egel is in the first year. Whenever the Torah says Egel, you'll know it's in the first year. When it says Egel ben Bakr, it's in the second year. When it says par, it's in the third year. And this is all in the Gemara. And came close to the Mizbeach. Yishach say Egel, he slaughtered the calf. The 1 year. Achata shana, which he had. Then Aaron brought us Adam the blood. That's made by Adam, and he dipped his hand in the blood. He put it on the corners of the altar. As Adam Yitzchak said, the rest of the blood he poured foundation of the altar. Verse number 10. As and the fats and the kidneys, and the diaphragm, which the liver, which is from the sin offering. He brought it on the altar, like God commanded Moshe. Verse number 11. And then he burnt the flesh and the hide. He burnt it in fire. Out of the camp, because this was a sin offering of the community, of his offering. So we don't find inscription outside sin offering, meaning one whose blood is sprinkled outside of the altar to be burnt, with the exception of this incense and this sin offering. That's it. That's the only time we tie it. Again, any sin offering that was brought into the altar, into the Beis Hamikdash, it means the blood was sprinkled on the pareches, or on like in the Yom Kippur, or the sin offering of a Kohen Gadol, or the sin offering of a community. That's the only sin offering that was burnt outside. Besides this one, even though it was a private offering, nevertheless it was burnt outside. Verse number 13. He took the burnt offering, he cut it up in its pieces. The head, and he burnt it on the altar. He washed the innards and the legs. He burnt it on the altar. And then he brought the offering of the people. And he took the goat offering, the sin offering of the people, and he slaughtered it, and he brought it as a sin offering, kerishain, like the first one. She says, can mish the sacrifice according to the laws of the sin offering, kerishain, like his own ega, like his own sin offering. And then he brought the carbon. He did it according to the law. What does that mean? Which is specified in regarding the burnt offering, voluntary burnt offering, in Parashat Vayikra, chapter 1, verse number 170. And that completes the Chumash for today. Now we continue. The Alter Rebbe continues the concept that he's explaining in the aspect of Torah and mitzvahs, and the where they reach up in Lamaila, in their destination, so to say, in their unity, the way it connects in heaven. And the Alter Rebbe explained that they need a Torah Lishma. Ashi Mishabala Kama Talmud Biyad, the greater the person that comes to here, up to heaven. That means his Torah reaches to very high heights. Is only when it's Talmud Biyad, when he does it Lishma. When he does it for the right reasons, means for the sake of God. He's learning Torah for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not for Torah motives, not for any personal gain. But as the Mishnah says, don't use a Torah as a hatchet. Learn Torah because it's the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you want to connect to the wisdom of God. That's the reason why you're learning Torah. There's no other reason why a person should learn Torah. There is another reason to know what to do. But that's one reason. You need to know what to do. If you don't learn Torah, you will not know how to live as a Jew. But then just Torah Lishma. I'm learning Torah like I just learned Parashat Vayikra, which is laws that I will never do. I'm not a Kohen. So, and it's not applicable, most of these laws in the Torah. I learned Torah because it's Torah. It's Torah from the Eibush, the whole book of Leviticus. was given by God. Chachma of the Eibishter and the will of God. And therefore I learn it because the Chachma and the will of God continues today, even though I can not physically do it. So now the Alter Rebbe continues to explain this concept. This inability for one's divine service to ascend to Sfiris, right? The Alter Rebbe said yesterday that if you want, since the Sfiris, he explained the attributes of God in the spiritual world, it's a manifestation of God. It's not the world, it's the Oid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How can one connect to the Oid of the Eibishter if it's not pure? If it's not pure, that's what it says. Who comes to the mountain of God? A person is pure. A person who doesn't have any kind of things, any kind of strings attached. A person that does things without any ulterior motives, but does it for the true sake, for the sake of God. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu says today to Aaron that it should be the will that God should rest in your hand, in the work of your hands. If you're going to do it for the sake of heaven, Kasher Tziva Hashem es Moshe. That's why the pasuk keeps on saying, Kasher Tziva Hashem es Moshe. Do it not for any reason, but for the reason that's what the Eibishter commanded. And the Torah keeps on telling us that that's exactly what they did. They didn't do it because they wanted to do this, they wanted to accomplish, they wanted to show that they can be. They did it because Kasher Tziva Hashem es Moshe, for the sake of heaven. No other reason. So then, the Chikapayim Abai Levav, a person that comes to can reach up to the Sfiras Elyonos, that his action becomes the action of heaven, is a concept of a person who does it for the sake of heaven. So the Alter Rebbe continues that the ability of one's divine service to ascend to the Sfiras applies not only when one's motive for engaging in Torah and mitzvahs is actually Shelai Lishma, not for his own sake. I'm learning Torah to be able to prove myself. I'm learning Torah to be able to show somebody else that I'm smarter than him. Meaning, for some ulterior motive, heaven forbid, in which case one actually is serving himself. So if one is learning Torah to be able to show he's a Talmid Chacham, and he's smarter than somebody else, that's why you learn. That's Mamish Shalei L'Shma. That's Pashit. As the Mishnah says, I said the Mishnah before, a person who uses Torah for a hatchet. That's one explanation to the Mishnah. I use it to bang somebody else. Oh, I know something you don't know. I'm smarter than you, and I'm a greater sage than you. And his service surely cannot reach to stand before God. Like Moshe Kosov, but even I'm going down to that, it says it's even deeper. But the pasuk says, even if as the verse describes us, their fear for me was like commandments for men done by rote. A lot of people fall in this, that they're basically working on autopilot. What means that people have fear of me, but it's like by rote. It's basically by that channeled. They're basically following some kind of a system they have been taught. Which means I serve God even out of fear, out of habit, acquired in his youth. And he'll give a linda up of it that his teacher or his father taught him to fear God. So why am I fearing God? Not because I have fear of God, because I'm afraid of my father. I'm afraid of my grandfather. I'm afraid of my teacher. And that is a basic natural thing. So basically, I'm a frumian because I was born up from. That's it. So really, I don't need to thank God. I didn't thank my father. I didn't thank my parents that sent me to yeshiva. L'shma mamish. L'shma means not because because this is the way I'm trained. L'shma means that right now I taka fear God. I have the fear of God right now. L'shma mamish. Because it's impossible to serve God. L'shma. L'shma means again for the sake of the name. L'shma means for the name. What means for the name? And over here means for the name of God. What means to serve God? Lishma, for God's name, without arousal, it's impossible. To serve God, lishma, if I'm not going to have revelation of true love of God. That's why it's a frightening Tanya to me a little bit, because how many of us awaken true love of God at this moment? And that's why I'm going to go daven, or that's why I'm learning, because I'm pushed to have the Yira and Abba the Abish to right now. Like, to be able to bring it out from the love of the Abish, the love of God, from the concealment of his heart into revelation, at least in his mind and the leniency of his heart. If one cannot arouse his natural love of God to the point where he's actually felt in his heart, he must try it, as discussed above, to arouse it to at least to be felt in the conscience of his mind, into the substance of his heart. Even this low level of arousal produces a will and a resolve to study Torah and to fulfill the mitzvahs. Thus, the resulting divine service contains at least some degree the force of kavana of his natural love, not of somebody else's natural love, my father's natural love, or my grandmother's natural love, since it was this love that created the love, which he now is implementing and doing the mitzvah and learning Torah. However, one does not produce even the minimal level of arousal. The love, although natural found in his heart, has no bearing on his divine service. He cannot therefore do the service lishma. So we need to basically, to be able to serve the Eibush to lishma, we need to awaken up at least something. Something needs to be awakened up within us. So whether even it's not a true love, it's a natural love, it's a love that I have in my instinct, and in my instinct, that it becomes eats in my mind that I think I love God. And that's why I'm going to do this mitzvah. Not because my grandmother told me, or this way I was brought up, but because I love the Eibishter. Not because of their love, because of my love. Or my fear. Whatever it might be, we need to awaken up this concept within us. But just one, as one does not do something for his fellow, to carry out his friend's will, unless he loves him or fears him. So too, it's actually impossible to truly do something for the sake of heaven, unless in order to carry out his will, unless he remembers and arouses his love and fear of God to some degree. Even if only a degree that will come to his mind. The levels of his heart, the hidden love that's in his heart. I'll come upon him at least. So if he cannot arouse these openly in his heart, one who observes mitzvahs out of habit, however, lack even the minimal arousal of love, cannot be described as serving God for his sake. Even though his performance is impelled by no ulterior motives. Furthermore, arousal of love alone, without an arousal, at least a lower level of fear of God hidden in every Jewish heart. So too, my friends, if we don't reveal a little bit of fear of God, honest of God in our heart, still not complete, because you need the two concepts. Avodah demands two aspects in our service: the concept of love and the concept of awe. That's a true relationship. A relationship, even a relationship between each other, a relationship between a spousal relationship, a relationship with God, if it's not going to be these two concepts, that I have ava, I have love, and I have fear, which I'm going to translate as awe, respect, it's not a good relationship. There's something missing in a relationship that doesn't have these two attributes. And that's why you learn Chassidus always that the two emotions, the six emotions, but the two major emotions of the person is Ava and Yira. Chesed and Gevura. These two things need to be in any relationship to be a true relationship. If a person only has love to somebody else, but he's not respecting him, is not a good relationship. And surely a person that doesn't fear somebody and doesn't have the concept of love, it's not a true relationship. A true relationship needs to be iskalos, the binding, the mixture of love, that I am there for that person, but at the same moment I respect that person. The second I lose my respect, my love is going to become dangerous. And for surely, if I have the concept of fear, of gevura, without any love in a relationship, it's going to surely be dangerous. So we need to have these two concepts. So that's what the Alter Rebbe writes over here. Just to love God and not to be in awe of Him, you're missing. It's not an avodah. You're missing something in the service, and therefore it's not a service. We need to have the awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We always need to have respect of God. Just like we need respect to others. We need respect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because then it's a sick love. Then your love is going to be a sick love. And it's going to be a dangerous love, as we see in the world. People do the most crazy things out of love officially. But they don't respect. They have no gevura. They have no respect of the other person. They're consuming of the other person. And that's not love. That's not a healthy love. That can be a very dangerous love, a sick love. And that's why the Alter Rebbe over here says the same thing. That we need that love alone is not considered a service of God. Believe even the lowest level of it. There needs to be some level of fear of HaKadosh Baruch. And that's why you have both concepts of the Torah, both mitzvah, the mitzvah of Ahavas Hashem, the love of God, the Yiras Hashem, and the fear of God. Because God wants a relationship with you. And God will understand that the relationship with Him is through these two concepts in a human being. Which is the love that's hidden in every human being, which Alter Rebbe said, this love, which God implanted, right, was given to us by our father. Abraham gave us the concept of Abba. Yitzchak gave us the concept of Gevura. And Yaakov gave us, inherited us, the aspect of Rachamim, mercy. As I'll explain later. So we need to have, Alter Rebbe says in our Avodah, it's important not to just be on autopilot, not to do things that's the way we have been brought up, not to do, but to have avodah. Avodah means not something that I have already. That's not an avodah. A service does not mean something that I have yesterday. Service means today. I need to have to serve God today. So I need to waken up within myself a service of God today. And that is by doing things because I love the Eibishter, waking up that love of God, even in your mind. And also the fear of God in your mind, the awareness of God, the respect of God, however you want to translate the word Yira. But there needs to be this concept within our lives. And that completes the Tanya of the day. Beautiful, beautiful Tanya today. Today is a very special day. It's the Yud Aleph Nisan. It's the 11th day of Nisan, which is the Yom Haledes. Today is the 121st birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. 121 years ago, he came to the world and ultimately changed the world for the good, and continues to affect the world on an ongoing basis as his teachings continue to impress and change the world around us. So we should say the Tillim today. Tillim of the 11th day of Nisan is chapter 60 to chapter 65. And also say that the Rebbe's Kapitel today, chapter 122, Kuf Kaf Beis, chapter 122 is the Rebbe's Kapitel for this year. And I wish everybody a wonderful day. There's not going to be a Tanya class today. And Mir Hashem, we'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We'll continue with the Chitas of the day. What a beautiful learning together. May all our learnings continue. We'll learn because the Rebbe, this is the Rebbe's place. This is what the Rebbe wanted. So God bless us all. Have a wonderful day. Mir Hashem, we'll see you all tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a wonderful and beautiful